You've survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and supporting the Black Man with a Gun Show. This is episode 556, and we got a full package today. Michael and I actually did a video, and it actually worked. You're going to hear the audio here. In our American History segment, we're talking about Harry T. Moore. Don't know who that is? You'll find out in a minute. Are you into AR-15s? Check out the post on blackmanwithagun.com. And we got some armed citizens news for you, where the good guys win. A legal case from Andrew Branca. All this and more on your favorite righteous podcast, The Black Man with a Gun Show.
Blackmanwithagun.com, Ken Blanchard's pro-gun podcast.
Hey, for those of us who have Google, have you noticed that Gmail, they're not charging you if you have X amount of gigabytes used for the email? Yeah, man, everybody's reaching for some money. No more free nothing these days. Freedom never has been free. Don't forget that. After John Wayne leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance, check this out.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of the biggest reasons that I podcast is that I get a chance to tell you things from my heart, things on my mind. I get to share American history with you. And it's only for the cool people, because everybody doesn't take the time to think. You know they don't. They're going to and fro. They are too busy chasing, too busy wasting. One of the greatest things about being in this gun community, in my community, is that I have thinking people, feeling people, American patriots. And what does that mean? To me, it means you don't care about the color of somebody's skin, but the content of their character. That anybody who would give you a firearm is your brother. And anybody who would take one away from you is truly an enemy. Color doesn't matter. For the past 18 years, I've been called the Black Man with a Gun. I've done it online. I've had the website up, the podcast for 10 years. The phrase still confuses people. It tells people like us exactly where the rest of them are. When they have knee-jerk reactions, when they shudder, a black person with a gun, oh my goodness. Then you know immediately where their mind and their heart is at. But I am so glad that you are not counted in that number. It was in 1964 when James Baldwin, author, reflected on the shortcomings of his education. He said, when I was going to school, I began to be bugged by the teaching of American history because it seemed that the history had been taught without cognizance of my presence. Baldwin's thoughts echoed those of many before and after him. Half a century earlier, when Carter G. Woodson had the same frustration, he set the foundation for what would become today's National Black History Month, observed each February. So in 1915, he and Jesse E. Moreland founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. The organization would promote studying Black history as a discipline and celebrate the accomplishments of African Americans. Woodson said, if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. In 1926, he launched Negro History Week to bring attention to this mission and to help school systems coordinate their focus on the topic. It was in February because of the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. February 14th February 12th, respectively. The ultimate aim of all Americans is to delete the hyphen. Whether you be Polish American, Italian American, African American, Swedish American, Filipino American, Mexican American, you get it. To get rid of the hyphen. But for some reason, we haven't got there yet. We're still working it. This week, I want to highlight a portion of American history that you probably haven't heard of before. And I do that quite often and have been doing it for a minute. Thank you for allowing me to do it and being so receptive of it. Today, I want to highlight somebody who martyred for the civil rights movement. His name is Harry T. Moore, out of Florida. Before Martin Luther King Jr. began to preach from the pulpit in Montgomery, Alabama, before the landmark Brown versus Brown of education decision, and before Rosa Parks' famous bus ride, a man named Harry T. Moore toiled in Jim Crow, Florida, on behalf of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the Progressive Voters League. For 17 years, in an era of official indifference and outright hostility, the soft-spoken but resolute Moore traveled the back roads of the state on a mission to educate, evangelize, and organize. On Christmas night in 1951, in Mims, Florida, a bomb was placed under his bed that ended his life. His wife, Harriette, died of her wounds a week later. Although Florida's governor reopened the case in 1991, no one was ever convicted of this crime. His name again was Harry T. Moore. He was the first president of the Florida NAACP. In 1934, the couple started together their first chapter in Brevard County. His wife joined him in his civil rights work. And the work resulted in both of them getting fired from their teaching positions. They had just celebrated their 25th anniversary when dynamite exploded beneath their home, the last of a dozen bombings that year in Florida. In the days that followed, baseball legend Jackie Robinson eulogized the couple before a crowd of 3,000. FBI agents investigated the bombing and interviewed a Klansman by the name of Joseph Neville Cox, who had supposedly told a friend he did the bombing for $5,000. A day after agents interviewed Cox a second time, he committed suicide. 2 of 3 other Klansmen identified in the killing died of natural causes the next year. The last Klansman, Edward Spivey, reported admitted on his deathbed in 1978 that he was there when the killings took place. Brothers and sisters, when you go to the range tomorrow or the next day, remember that freedom isn't free. That to vote cost people their lives. That to own a gun cost people their lives. That even though today we fight over minutia like bump stocks and bullet buttons and magazine bans and restrictions, we've come a long way and not so far at the same time. This is your friend and your brother Ken Blanchard, and this is a moment in history.
By and by, oh, when the morning comes, oh, all the saints, of God will gather, and one day we will tell
This portion of the show is sponsored by CrossbreedHolsters.com. Crossbreed Holsters has gained national recognition as a maker of the best and most functional concealment holsters available on the market today. Each holster is handcrafted to ensure your firearm is safe and secure while carrying, combined with the best customer service in the industry. Visit CrossbreedHolsters.com.
Direct from our newsroom in Washington, in color.
Man shot attempting to break into a house in Liberty. A Texarkana man is recovering from a gunshot wound after attempting to break into a home Wednesday evening. According to Bowie County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Neal, Bowie County deputies were dispatched to a disturbance call in the 100 block of Bateson Lane around 9:30 p.m. Wednesday. The information provided by a caller was that a white male named Wade, wearing blue jeans, no shirt, and a teal-colored hat, was intoxicated at this location and causing the disturbance. While still on the way to his call, the deputies were informed of a burglary in process in the 400 block of Fricks Lane, and this location is adjacent to the original disturbance call on Bateson Lane. Caller said that a white male was attempting to break into her home through the back door, and her husband, Joseph Combs, had shot the intruder. Deputy Michelle Carrier and Texas Department Public Safety Trooper Chad Turner arrived a short time later. They found a white male matching the description of the disturbance suspect on Bateson Lane lying in the backyard of this home with a gunshot wound. This subject was identified as Michael Wade McBride, who is 26 years of Texarkana, Texas. McBride was found to be alert and was transported by LifeNet ambulance to St. Michael's Hospital for treatment. At the time of this report, he remained in stable condition at the hospital. No charges have been filed at this time, and investigation into this incident is ongoing. Next story comes from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Fort Bragg soldier allegedly shoots, kills wife's attacker at North Carolina home. Police believe a Fort Bragg soldier shot and killed a man attacking his wife Tuesday evening, according to WTVD. The shooting happened just before 10 p.m. at the home in Fayetteville. The suspect was pronounced dead at the scene. The wife was reportedly outside smoking a cigarette when an unknown man approached her, pulled a gun, and forced her inside the apartment. The husband, who was upstairs, heard the commotion and shot the suspect when the attacker pointed his gun at him. Military police around here, they're going to have guns, said property manager Donna Keels. You just can't go knock on a door and expect not to be met with a gun when you know the militaries live here. And I support anybody who carries a gun to protect themselves, she said. The shooting is being investigated as a homicide. It's not yet known whether any charges will be filed. And the final story comes from Brownsville, Kentucky. Concealed carry holder holds robbery suspect at gunpoint. A Grayson County man is behind bars after allegedly breaking into a residence in Edmonson County. Edmonson County Sheriff's Office says 20-year-old Robert Hunt was held at gunpoint by the homeowner until deputies arrived to the house on E.G. Nash Road. The homeowner was a concealed carry, deadly weapons permit holder, according to a sheriff's deputy that says in situations like this, it's important to alert police to ensure everyone's safety. Once you call police, if you're actually going to hold a suspect at gunpoint, you need to let the dispatch know. Go ahead and give a description of yourself so we know once we get to on the scene who the actual concealed carry holder is and who actually is the suspect, said Deputy Jordan Jones of the Edmonson County Sheriff's Office. Hunt was taken to the Hart County Jail. He's facing charges of robbery, second degree, theft by unlawful taking or disposition firearms, and theft by unlawful taking or disposition all others under $500. And now, from Andrew Branca, the law of self-defense.
Thanks for having me on to share this week's Law of Self-Defense Case of the Week. I'm attorney Andrew Branca for lawofselfdefense.com. This content is provided for general educational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice. If you are in need of legal advice, you must consult with competent legal counsel licensed to practice in the relevant jurisdiction. Today's case of the week is Green v. State out of the Georgia Supreme Court 2 days ago, January 29th, 2018. And in this case, the appellant, the person bringing the appeal, he's Green, along with two of his friends, had gotten himself involved in an ongoing dispute, a beef with the victim of the use of force over allegations of a stolen firearm. The victim had been informed that the appellant and his friends were repeatedly driving past the victim's house and, quote-unquote, mean mugging, I guess making mean faces. And the victim apparently believed that there was a danger that the appellant and his friends would attempt to attack him. So the victim positioned himself immediately outside his home where he could see the street where they were driving by all the time, and armed himself with a gun. Now, at some point, the appellant and his friends, in fact, stopped their car, pulled up in front of the victim's home, and got out of their car themselves holding guns. The appellant and one friend started yelling at the victim and then started punching the victim while attempting to take the victim's gun away from him. They were unsuccessful. The two attackers backed off, and at that point, the second friend stepped up to the victim and shot the victim in the face. Now, not a legal issue, but interesting from a tactical perspective, the victim got shot in the face, fell down, and then got back up and exchanged gunfire with his three attackers. So shot in the face, but not out of the fight. Something for us to keep in mind. Unfortunately for the victim, he would ultimately succumb to his injuries and he would die a short time later. The appellant and his two friends were charged with malice murder, and they were tried together in a single trial. And during that trial, the appellant's legal defense was essentially an alibi defense, that it wasn't him. He wasn't there. He didn't have anything to do with the shooting. He was somewhere else. Ultimately, the jury found all three men guilty as charged of malice murder. The appellant then appealed his conviction on several grounds, the ones of interest to us being that he claimed he had ineffective assistance of counsel at trial because his trial lawyer failed to request a jury instruction on either self-defense or mutual combat. The fact that mutual combat came up as an issue opens the door for us to discuss this very interesting legal doctrine within use of force law. And the interesting thing about mutual combat is that it does two seemingly contradictory things at the same time. First, mutual combat, if it was found your use of force was found to be mutual combat, strips you of self-defense. You lose self-defense. That's bad. On the other hand, what it also does is it can mitigate what would have been a murder conviction down to a manslaughter conviction. Now, for law-abiding people like us, a manslaughter conviction doesn't feel like a win. You're still looking at a sentence of 15, 20 years, sometimes more than that. But it is way better than a murder conviction. Typically, a murder conviction may be life in prison without possibility of parole. That's it. Curtain's closed. With a manslaughter conviction, you might get sentenced to 10 or 15 or 20 years, but under many state systems, you could potentially be eligible for parole in a third of that time. So you might just end up serving a few years, get out, still have some kind of life available to you. So if you're staring a murder conviction in the face, the mitigating that to manslaughter is a win. So let's talk a little bit about what mutual combat is and the consequences for use of force law and how it's treated in terms of use of force law. So mutual combat is essentially when two people or more agree to a physical combat to settle their differences. Let's go outside and settle this like men. Like idiots, of course. Only idiots would do such a thing, but people, a lot of idiots out there. Thankfully, I guess they pay for my costly German motorcycles. So two people or more agree to go out, settle their differences. Now, how is this treated under the law? Well, as a first step, if you're a mutual aggressor, your use of force can't have been self-defense because you're both deemed to be mutual aggressors in that fight. And the first element of 5 of a self-defense claim is that element of innocence. You must not have been the physical aggressor in the fight. If you're the physical aggressor in the fight, the first to threaten or use force, unlawful force, then you lose self-defense. You're losing that required element of innocence. Now, interestingly, mutual combat is treated somewhat differently in non-deadly force cases than it is in deadly force cases. So say we're just talking about a simple fist fight, no deadly force involved, a non-deadly force conflict. In many states, what they'll do in cases of non-deadly force mutual combat is neither party qualifies to claim self-defense. Neither party qualifies to justify their use of force as lawful defensive force because they're mutual combatants, they're mutual aggressors, they've both lost innocence. But in the context of purely non-deadly force, what often happens is the law takes the position that each party consented to the other party's use of force against them. And if you consented to it, then that other person's use of force was not unlawful. Doesn't mean they were justified or that you were justified. Neither of you were. But because when you agreed to get into a fight, you consented to that guy throwing punches at you, and you were throwing punches at him, he consented to your punches as well, that neither of you can, in effect, bring charges against the other. So that's one approach. But that only ever applies when we're talking only about non-deadly force. Two parties cannot consent to a deadly force fight, because what would that be? That would be a duel to the death, and the law does not allow for duels to the death. So how mutual combat is treated in the context of a deadly force confrontation is different. Now, let's assume it's a deadly force confrontation in which one party dies. They're the victim now of the other party's use of force. That other party finds themselves charged with murder. They intentionally killed that other person. What they may try to argue is mutual combat as a defense. They can't claim self-defense because they were a mutual combatant, a mutual aggressor. They've lost innocence. Self-defense is off the table. But what they can argue is that it was mutual combat, and the emotional provocation of being in mutual combat essentially mitigates what would otherwise be a murder conviction down to a voluntary manslaughter conviction. Voluntary manslaughter being when you intend to cause some other person harm, maybe foreseeable deadly harm, but because of the emotions, the emotional provocation of the moment, your brain was incapable of forming the specific intent to kill that's required for a murder conviction. The argument can be made in a deadly force case that would otherwise result in a murder conviction that the mutual combat, the fact that both parties agreed to get into the fight, should be a similar kind of trigger that mitigates murder down to manslaughter. That's why this appellant was making this argument. For one thing, he wasn't worried about getting convicted of malice murder. He was already convicted of malice murder when he brought this appeal, and he's trying to get it mitigated down to manslaughter, so he'll have some chance sometime in his life to get out of prison again. Obviously, here he was not successful in doing that, appropriately so. To get back to this appellate court decision, the court actually writes in its findings that, and I'll quote here, paraphrasing a little bit, a charge on mutual combat generally is proper when there is evidence of a mutual intention or agreement to fight. In this case, there is no evidence that the victim had an intention to fight the appellant. The evidence shows that the argument was between the victim and the appellant's friends, that the victim came out with the gun only after being told that the appellants were driving back and forth in front of his house, but he kept the gun by his side. He did not attempt to use it even when the appellant's friends were punching him and trying to take his own gun away. And the victim exchanged gunfire with the appellant and his friends only after he'd been shot in the face. Clearly, this was not someone who was willingly getting into a fight. The fight came to him. He didn't go to the fight. So it was on those facts that the court, again, concluded mutual combat was not a credible defense in this case. Therefore, it was not ineffective assistance of counsel not to request a mutual combat jury instruction, and they affirmed this appellant's conviction. If you'd like to read the full text of this appellate decision, and we always encourage you to do so, you can find it linked at our Patreon page at patreon.com/Law of Self-Defense. That's it for this week's Law of Self-Defense Case of the Week. As a listener of Reverend Blanchard's Black Man with a Gun podcast, you can save 10% on just about everything at lawofselfdefense.com, including live classes, online classes, instructional DVDs and books, and more by pointing your browser to lawofselfdefense.com/black and using the discount code BLACK at checkout. Don't forget, you carry a gun so you're hard to kill. Know the law so you're hard to convict. I'm attorney Andrew Branca for lawofselfdefense.com.
Thanks for that, Andrew. And now trying something new with Michael and I. Up next. Michael, how you making out this afternoon, man?
I'm doing great on this cold day in February. Happy Black History Month to everybody, if that is a greeting.
It's all good. And we got Groundhog Day and all the good stuff that happens in February. Man, what's new in the agenda for you?
Only thing that's new for me is trying to bring that Aiming for the Truth with Kevin Dixie from St. Louis down here to Columbia, South Carolina. Want to hit up the USCCA convention and the NRA convention, April and May. And then other than that, it's just my workouts, continue to train, staying hard to kill.
I like that. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening with the Aiming for the Truth thing? Tell me about that one.
All right. So the Aiming for the Truth is Kevin Dixie. I honestly think he found the key to the puzzle, right? Okay. Which is bringing families and the community together with the means of education and the law. Comes in is a couple of areas we're going to tackle as far as employment, range safety for the children and the family, coaching fathers, education and employment. And then you're tackling areas like mental education, and that whole realm, it encompasses what we need to do as a community to bring people together to be aware of the laws so your rights and keeping the Second Amendment alive, and at the same time you doing what you're supposed to do in the means of your everyday life.
Okay, so have you met this guy already?
Not physically. We've talked on the phone, we done video chat, we done text. Okay. But he'll be here on the 21st of July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the same guy from NOC Farms?
Yeah, that's him. Yep.
Okay.
No Other Choice firearms training.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So like I said, come on down up from DC, get some of this Southern hospitality. If you want, man, I'll cook you some pancakes.
That'll do it right there. All right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from the USCCA thing?
I just want to go so I can actually do a little bit of networking, and if I can help out somebody else, like it's in Kentucky, but let's just happen to say I run into somebody who is a firearms instructor in Georgia or Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, wherever they may be close to me, and they want some assistance or need some assistance. Hey, I'll come and I'll help you out. You know what I'm saying? Just like if I'm putting something together, if I might need some help, I might reach out to people and say, hey, I need you here. So I'm just going to use that as a networking tool, not so much as like everybody tries to make it out to be more than what it is. Like we already got the base laid down. So let's go out and grab and let's make it stronger, make the foundation stronger.
Okay. That works.
Shaking hands and just meeting people.
Most needed. Because we do a lot of stuff on social media and no real people. That's the kind of the big thing for a SHOT Show and an NRA show. Right. USCC, I think this might be either the second or third event they've ever had, so it might be kind of cool. Is there an entry fee for that? Do you know? For the USCCA one?
Yeah, I think it was like $9 for members and $14 for non-members.
Oh, that's still not too bad. That's good.
Yeah. So the way when you read it, they're expecting a large turnout, and I think that's the reason why their tickets pretty low like that.
That's good. This week I had a young lady hit me up on Instagram, native Cherokee, and she's a fitness trainer and a nurse and bodybuilder. I mean, awesome chick. And she got this new thing going on called the Women's Defense Network. And I'm hoping in the next month or two to be able to help them do whatever they're doing. She was at SHOT Show. She had some really cool pictures, stuff that she was doing. She was in a carbine class out there in Nevada. So quick shout out to Brenda Marie. Thank you for saying hey to a brother online. That was kind of cool.
That's what's up right there. Tig was out there also in Nevada. She gave a class out there for during that time doing SHOT Show.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. I
haven't heard much from her. She got married, got a little quieter on something. So I'm hoping she's doing okay.
Yeah, she's doing great, man. She's on the grind right now. Her class is in demand, and she's putting in that work.
That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to start a whole bunch of stuff new all over again after being doing this thing for so long. I'm trying to get back to the basics of both being an instructor and helping people out where they need to be helped.
Right.
You had a really good tip. You did the fundamentals of gun safety. I saw that on Facebook page. You can never get that thing. I mean, that's never gets old. So good for you, man, for doing that.
Oh yeah. I know one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to once a week do like a quick 30 seconds to 1 minute blurb on a tip.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to do it. I said I was going to do it on Wednesday, but I've been busy Wednesday, Thursday, and today. So I'm actually do my Instagram tip tomorrow.
All right, cool.
So try to have that up by noon, because I don't like to say I'm going to do something and I don't do it. That just irks me so much. You know,
who did the video for you on Instagram?
Which one?
The one you at the range, you doing like a drawing from conceal?
Actually, it was my phone, and Johnny King was holding my phone, recording it.
Okay. Man, that looked like professional. That doggone phone, man, is off the hook.
Man, I'm trying to tell you. Well, you know, Johnny has a little bit of expertise with videos. I don't know if he went to school with it or not, but Johnny is really smart on a lot of things. You know, like
smart brother.
You'll hear us horsing around and goofing off with stuff, but when he does something and the finishing product, I'm like, man, I was really impressed with that dude. And he was like, hey, I try to do it a little bit.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah. We actually did that draw. We did it like something like 8 times, and he just did it from like, he did 2 the same way, and then he'll change it up. And then like when I got home, I just was going through and I looked for the better one, and I was like, okay, this is the one I'm going to use. But I was actually surprised with the angles, and I just told him what I was wanting to do, but he put the rest of his little magic to it. And I was like, man, that was hot.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good.
Yeah. So what's going on with you other than, you said the woman from SHOT Show hit you up?
Yeah. Just getting ready for, I got 2 Smith & Wesson pistols I got to pick up probably another week.
2?
Yeah.
Did you say 2?
Yeah.
That sounds like Batman and Robin right there.
Yeah. I'm hoping Smith & Wesson comes through and is a new sponsor for us. But if not, they still been cool with giving me something to test and evaluate. And I plan to use those 2 pistols to do a whole bunch of videos. One's a really high-speed revolver, is a 7-shot from the M&P line, which I didn't even know existed. And the other one is a 2.0, the M&P 9. I use that thing on a daily basis. It's the same version of the firearm that I use at work. So,
man, oh man, you just made my heart flutter when you said that.
So that'd be that thing.
2.0. Lord have mercy. I'm about to get weak in the knees.
And I will share. I plan to do after week, probably July. I'll bring it down here to you.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
I should be full up on stuff by then. In July, I can say, hey, check it out, and you use this thing and practice with it and do whatever while we're there. I was thinking about the crazy stuff in the news, but I wanted to get that to after you say what you great say.
Oh yeah, the only thing I was gonna say was like I said, I got a new belt, a new holster, and just out here just practicing training, because this season of shooting, my goal is to do more, travel around like we already talked about, doing competitions at various locations. I'm trying to step my game up a little bit and shoot a little bit more, and of course, prepare for when we actually do go to various locations, because when we go to these locations, I want to try to time it a little bit where there is possibly a USPSA match going on. And even if it's not, just do a shoot with the people and just talk and shoot and have fun.
I got my new glasses today, and I ain't feeling them right now. I'm still trying to get used to these things. I was at the range qualifying for my job. We got to qualify annually. And it is a no-brainer. It's a really easy target to shoot at. It's timed, but it's not all that. And for the first time in my life, we got to the 15-yard line, and it's all right. And 15, and I think it was like 7 seconds. You're going to draw and fire 1 round or 2 rounds in 7 seconds, which competition-wise, that's a long time. And I was like all calm about it. I didn't really care. I knew I could hit the target. Well, this time, for the first time in my life, I drew my weapon, went on target, and I freaked out because I couldn't see my front sight. I couldn't see the target. For a momentary minute, I hollered, "I'm blind." And I saw a couple of instructors like ran over there to see me. And I was like, I still shot my 2 shots because I've been shooting the same way forever. So I could have probably been in no light, blindfolded, and I still hit the target. And that's pretty much what happened. But my eyes, for the first time, I got what they called, presbyopia. And the doctor told me, when you're over 40, you're going to lose some of your eyesight. It's just natural. And I was like, no, this can't happen. Not me. I've been shooting forever. And so I went back to the 25-yard line, and I was even more pissed off. I was like, I really got to look at the front sight. That's all I got. I got nothing else. And in my mind, I had lost something. You know, I was like all distressed, thinking, I'm geezing, man. It's over. Went to the eye doctor, and they're like, don't worry about it. All you got to, and it was funny. My eye doctor says, you know, all you got to do is look at the front sight. And I was like, oh, man, don't be telling me that.
Well, you know, like, I did some research on that. Because for the longest, I just couldn't wrap my head around just focusing on the front sight. You know, your eye is just like a camera, the lens of a camera, all right? And if you focus, like you look at the target and you point at the target and you point in that area and focusing on that front sight post, your eye naturally hones in like on the center. You know, and it's just remarkable like how your body is, and you really don't have to put much thought into it. You just got to do simple stuff and it does the rest.
But when your mind says, I can't see, my game was messed up, dude. It was like, I've been shooting for like 30 years. So I had to like overcome myself, and it's all good. I still shot all right. But in my mind, I was like, I gotta change up on something. But the glasses, I got like hardly any medicine in these things. But it's all psychological, like most shooting is, actually. It's all good. It's all good. So I'm looking forward to going to the range probably next week and and overcoming myself, you know.
Don't freak yourself out, at least.
I know, right? You should have seen them guys. They were like, what's wrong? I was like, I can't see. I was all dramatic. Such a diva. Stop it.
Hey, that could have been a commercial right there.
Man, I had 20/10 vision all my life up until now. So, yeah. Oh, so I was spoiled.
Yeah, I got you on that one. Yeah. Now, as far as injuries go, you know, I got hit yesterday going into Walmart.
What?
Yeah, man. Like this lady had hit me. I don't know how old she was. She was old, but yeah, she literally hit me. And like when I seen it, I tried to like jump on the hood of the car, but when she was coming and when I noticed it, by the time I jumped, the car had already clipped my leg. So I hit the hood pretty hard. And when she slammed on brakes, you know, I went sliding, and, you know, luckily I knew how to roll.
You got hit by a car.
Yeah. Like a Toyota Corolla, Toyota Camry, whatever it was.
Wow.
Yeah. Going to Walmart to do my grocery shopping. And then all these people ran over to me like, hey, you okay? You okay? And I jumped up and I was like, hey, I'm fine. I'm fine. And like I'm touching myself, making sure I was really touching myself to make sure I still have my gun on me. You know? That's the only reason I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine. Wow. But you know, nobody saw the gun, nobody freaked out, but they was more concerned about me. And then, you know, the lady, you know, I walked over to her to make sure she was okay. And at the same time, I'm trying to check on her. You know, everybody's in my ear like, hey, are you sure you're okay? You sure you're okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. She was trying to give me like her information, her insurance information. And I was like, no need for that. You know, I'm walking, I'm breathing, I'm blessed, you know, because, you know, I ain't trying to get rich off nobody, and I ain't trying to defraud nobody either.
Yeah.
But she kept insisting. And I was like, no, ma'am, I'm good. Trust me, I am good. You know, when I went into Walmart, after about 30 minutes of walking around with that shopping cart, my hips started hurting. I didn't complain about it. So when I got home, I went ahead, I took a nap, woke up, stretched it out. It still bothered me a little bit. Like when I was on the range today, when we was putting up the targets, you know, when I was walking and when I bent over, you know, I was like, okay, it's still a little bit tender, but you know, I'm good though.
Man, I gotta get you an action figure. You like getting beat up and stuff. Super Dave, make him jump over a car.
So I was like, man, I need to have a camera crew following me, so all this stuff can be documented and make a reality TV show.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're doing good, man.
Oh yeah, I'm like I said, I'm actually good. So I didn't make a big deal about it because, you know, stuff like that happens, and but I really don't think that lady should have been driving because she should have seen me.
Oh, okay.
You know, it ain't like I was like invisible.
Walmart, man. Walmart is dangerous. I park far, far away because there's always like some 400-pound person trying to like park close. And they will shoot in front of you, man, to like get the space.
Yeah, but the funny part about it, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. This was like 6 o'clock in the morning when this happened. So I'm like, because the only reason I went that early, because normally when I would go grocery shopping in the evening time, it'd be crowded. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to go earlier in the morning, so I can knock it out and then still come back and do what all I need to do in the daytime.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go back to my regular routine in the daytime.
I got you.
Yeah.
Man, have you heard about the bump stock craze that kind of came back after the Las Vegas stuff? They're still talking about it. Like Maryland even popped up with it this week.
Well, you know what they're going to end up doing? Well, they actually did it. I read something online, whereas they changed the definition for automatic producing weapon. Because, the original definition for automatic was one pull on the trigger and the gun just cycles.
Right.
Just paraphrasing right now. I can't remember exactly word for word. But they changed it, whereas it talks about the inertia from the weapon having your finger resets to pull the trigger again. So now, of course, that's why the ban is going to take place, because they changed the definition of it. So, because, the bump stock, originally, that's how they did it. They went around the definition, because the bump stock it's sat in the cradle of the in the armrest. So of course, when you pull the trigger and it slides back, and then when it rocks back forward, it resets, and it's like you're constantly pulling the trigger, but it's just at a faster rate, and you're not physically doing it. You just hold your finger there, and it's just bumping, back and forth.
When it works that good, but it's not like that.
Yeah, great. It's not. I mean, I never shot one before, but I'm not one of those guys that's big on an automatic weapon either.
That's all experience there. Yeah. But for people who don't know, this stuff is like, yeah, this is something we can jump on. And everybody's kind of like, let this thing die. I mean, it's like, all right, you want to beat up on something here? We're going to hold this thing out here, take it away, and you can all jump on it and stomp it. I mean, everybody's like, let this thing go. And I'm not quite sure whether it's a good thing or not. If you know you got to have, there's going to be a side that hates everything we have to do with guns. So you gave them something to appease them, kind of. Do you actually want to do that, or do you want to stay with the Second Amendment, stay with gun rights, stay firm, no compromise, or here, he can go ahead and beat this thing up here. It's okay. It can be a scapegoat. You can, if it makes you happy, beat this thing up.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you look at it like that, you're opening the door for something else, a trigger, a basic 2-stage trigger. Now it can fall under that same definition. That can branch off to something else, and before you know it, we're back to shooting bow and arrows, and can't make those automatic, right?
But it's always been that. When we didn't have firearms, it was steel. So it's going to always be something. Looking at the Washington Post and yesterday, it said Maryland Democrats announced a pair of measures Thursday that said they will help protect residents from gun violence. But Governor Larry Hogan said neither one of them is very serious and pushed his own crime-fighting proposals. And one of their measures would ban bump stocks, devices that can increase a semi-automatic firing rate to nearly fully automatic. Bump stocks were used in the mass shooting in Las Vegas last year that killed 58 people and wounded more than 800. Delegate David Moon, a Montgomery County Democrat, sponsored the bill, described it as a way of closing a loophole in the state's sweeping gun control law approved several years ago that banned 45 assault weapons. Maryland is like one of those crazy states, man. It has a handgun roster board. You have to have certain guns approved to even have them in the state. Like say you look in Guns and Ammo magazine and you see a pistol that you think, oh man, this is pretty cool to own. It might not be sold in Maryland unless it goes through our handgun roster board. Of all the guns that we have available, not all of them are available to Maryland residents. Somebody just threw the bump stock under the bus for that one. So even though that thing's not even a firearm or a regulated anything, it's boom, now on the list.
So now who regulates this list in Maryland?
The handgun roster board and the state police.
So they can sit there and say, oh, we don't want the SIG P320.
And they do that stuff.
Yeah, but yet you allow the Glock 42.
That's how it is. That's how Maryland is.
It sounds like some greased palms and unfairness going on right there.
Oh yeah. We had some stuff happen here. I got a note from a friend of mine who sent me a rant at 1:46 in the morning. And he said he posted this on his Facebook page. And he's pretty pissed off. He says, forgive my rant, but Maryland is the worst state I've lived in, and I lived in quite a few. There I said it. And it's nothing to do with the people of Maryland, but more with its legislators. I don't get upset easily, but listening to these clowns today was enough. When it comes to Second Amendment gun rights, guaranteed, enumerated by the Constitution itself, they want to not only restrict the rights of the citizenry, they want to entirely ban it. For years, Maryland has had a public review board that adjudicated cases where the Maryland State Highway Patrol denied a citizen who passed a background the right to carry a concealed weapon with proper state certified training. This state does a full, complete background check, but it's not a May issue state. The politicians talk about reducing gun violence and passed a series of bills in 2013 aimed at reducing weapons and violence. Well, they certainly reduced the right of the law-abiding citizen to own and carry. So did it help with overall violence? No, it actually increased, especially in Baltimore, with a record number of deaths. So how well is this working out? Now, after Democratic administration and Democratic governors, they want to get rid of the PRB because they feel like the current governor's representatives are overturning denials and are just handing out concealed carry permits. Well, let me say this. I have nothing but contempt for these people, legislators. And it just goes to show how broken the system is and how they reveal themselves to believe that they know better than the rest of us. And this thing is not even halfway done. That's the first paragraph. We got a couple more. This guy I actually used to work with, and he's the owner and the creator of this watch called the Hogger. It's out of Hagerstown, Maryland. So it's it's a local timepiece. It's on the same par with like a Rolex made locally. It's kind of cool if you guys can see it. It's as heavy as a Rolex. It has cool movement. I know Coleon loves watches. So do I, but I can't afford them. So I got to get mine from my local dude. But I'm going to just share that if you were in Maryland, man, you up against a lot of stuff. And I'd move out of here if I could. But right now, I'm about to stay and fight.
Yeah, see, like when people do stuff like that, I've honestly said, do you understand by you're giving up your gun rights, that is the doorway to all your other rights. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, regardless if you don't like it or not, for instance, I'm not a fan of the KKK. Right? I don't believe in their practices. Right. But by me being in the military, I can't specifically say, hey, I'm going to fight this war, but I'm going to fight for the rights of Mr. Smith right here, Mr. Abrams over here, but not this group of people right there. You know what I'm saying? So I have to fight for all the rights so everybody can have the right to say something. And that diversity is what makes us who we are. But as soon as you try to turn that agenda around, it throws the whole system out of whack. Bottom line is, if you don't like guns, you don't want a gun, don't touch it.
Don't infringe on my right to have one.
Right. And, of course, the defense would be like, well, you got crazy people out there. And, there's only craziness going on because even if you take the guns away, people still going to do crazy stuff.
It's still the heart of man that's desperately wicked. It's not the tool. And folks love to jump on mechanical devices. And nobody, that car that hit you was a pretty big assault weapon.
Yeah. Like the guy did that in Texas where he rented the truck from Home Depot and somewhere. He mowed down like all those people exercising, just walking and running.
Yeah.
You want to make a big deal about guns, you could do the same thing with a car.
That's true. Man, I'm gonna tell you about this thing. I still hate videos, man. Video's evil. I got dogged for that thing last time. I'm gonna tell you what happened. Because you got like the nice banner. I'm still hating on that thing. I had this white cloth that had dropped from the ceiling. It was all wrinkly, right? So I got this dude. He's like a really good photographer. He was dying, man. He's like, man, you can iron that thing out, right? You could like steam it or something. And I was like, put my head down, and I was using the audio from the camera itself. I didn't use my boom mic that I have all set up for my podcast and stuff. So he was like, yeah, we couldn't hardly hear you. And I was thinking, and the lighting, and I was like, all right, that's strike 3 right there. So I went and got like the super bright like light that it's probably gonna give me a tan. I can't even like use this thing. It's like overkill. But it's all because of you, Sam, doggone it. Made me feel all self-conscious. And then last week we was trying to do this thing like 3 times, and I got so flustered. I was like, I'm glad you couldn't see me because I was like throwing stuff down, like,
Hey, that's how it is with me when I be recording. And especially like when I'm like tired and I got other things on my mind, because I'll write out what I want to say and I just read off what I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be sitting here like, yeah, and such a little bit. Oh, man.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Pick up again, but I do it like 6 or 7 times. So like if you really listen to what I send you and what you put out, you could tell when I'm frustrated because my tone changes.
It's all good, man. It's all post-production, which can't do while you're doing it live, so you're stuck. So my hat's off to everybody who does video on a reel, who was like a YouTube professional, because this stuff ain't easy, man. I've been podcasting for 10 years. This video stuff still irks me.
Oh yeah. Well, when you do it enough, it becomes second nature, and then next thing you know, but the next thing is step it up, and the next thing you go is going to be the same way.
That's true.
So
by the summer we'll be all right. Well, because we'll be outside. Maybe I can get Mr. King to do the video, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be good on that one. Last time when me and you was talking, we was talking about new shooters and products and everything.
Mm-hmm.
For all the people out there who are new to shooting, you do not have to go out there and buy the latest and greatest gear. Right? If you buy something, like for instance, when I purchased my first handgun, it was the Smith & Wesson M&P 40, but I bought it in a range kit, and the range kit came with magazine holders, the holster, earplugs.
Nice.
So everything came, even with the extra magazine. So I bought 3 magazines with it, and it cost about the same as just the gun by itself. So when you go to order it, ask them if they have the range kit or the bundle for that specific handgun that you want, but if you're into shooting just like me, you know what I'm saying? This right here is a holster from Bravo Concealment, their new torching holster. And if you go on Instagram, my Instagram page, Munitions Weapons Tactical or M-W Tactical on Instagram, you'll see me, utilizing. I'm just testing this out, and I just got this the other day.
Cool.
So I'm running it through the test measures right now, and I got a new belt also, but I'm gonna save the belt for my safety tip tomorrow that I'm gonna do on Instagram.
All right, cool. So how can folks see more of your stuff? Where can you be found?
Yeah, go to www.m-wtactical.com. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, I got my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter tabs on it where you can click on it. It'll take you straight there. But if you want, just go ahead and open up Instagram, put in M-W Tactical or Munitions Weapons Tactical. Follow me. Go to Facebook, type in M-W Tactical, hit the like button, follow me. And on Twitter, do the same thing.
All right, man.
But then, of course, the most important site you can go to is blackmanwiththegun.com. And under About, look for my name and then hit the information. Give me a call. Shoot me an email. I'm open 24/7 to talk to anybody. And I want to give a big shout out to Adam Jacobs. Was that his name?
Yeah.
Yep, Adam Jacobs. Sent me a lengthy email and talking about, how much he liked the show. He appreciated the tips and he loved the show overall. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad we can do that for you. Anything specific you want us to talk about, shoot the email. Like I said, I enjoy the ideas and I'll use them, because half the stuff that we do, nobody tells me what to talk about. I even try to get Mr. Blanchard to tell me, hey, what do you want me to talk about? Hey, man, do what you want to do. Okay. So, but hey, Adam Jacobs, I appreciate that. But if you want me to talk about something specific, send me an email. Tell me what you want. We'll make it happen.
All right, man.
Until next week, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun. Back to you, Ken.
All right, Michael. Man, we trying something different, and I'm hoping you guys dig the dialogue. We were trying it. And you can see the whole video on this week's episode on blackmanwiththegun.com. This portion of the show has been brought to you by the United States Concealed Carry Association. The USCCA has been providing education, training, and self-defense insurance to responsibly armed Americans since 2003. Join Tim Schmidt and myself here at usconcealedcarry.com. Want to give a quick shout out to all my white brothers and sisters in arms that have been white men and white women with guns that have stood shoulder to shoulder with me on the range, who have helped me wherever I needed it, who have been phenomenal in my legacy and my growth. Thank you for being there for a brother. To the leaders of today, to Hank Strange and Coleon Noir, to Argo J, to Antonio Okafor, to Kevin Dixie, to Rick Ector, for Marcus Allen Weldon, for Tiffany G. Johnson, for Marshall Tig Tegner, Washington, for the National African American Gun Association nationwide, to Rhonda Ezel, to Brother Tony Simon, and to Maj Toure, and everybody that I missed in between. Lift every voice and sing. Hit some steel and make it ring. Free people own guns, and slaves do not. Jesse Owens said, "We all have dreams. In order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. You got it. Go." This has been your friend and your brother from another mother, the Reverend Ken Blanchard. And just in case nobody has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Until next time, shalom, baby.
Until next time, friends.
To keep in touch with Ken and his cause, head over to blackmanwithagun.com.